Hey everybody, this is Sal Graci here with Goodnight Gracie Band, and I am just thrilled to have the extremely talented Allison Leah with us. And Allison, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. Thank you so much
No,
for
this is
having
great. We
me.
we were excited to get you on here. One of the things that we came across you on, of course, on your social media, and we were excited that you took the opportunity and the time to do this. And we found you, believe it or not, on your 10 date. So tell us a little bit about that. What made you think about that and even get started with that?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, so cool that you found me through the
Hmm.
10-day challenge. For context, I ran a 10-day Instagram and TikTok challenge where I was sharing new music and some music that's out already, just as like a little snippet. And I got started with it because I've spent a lot of the last year and a half writing new music, and also over the course of the last few months, I had had some growth on TikTok, and I had some new followers happening on Instagram by via getting back into live
Hmm.
shows. And so I was like, wait a second, I have some old, not old because no songs ever like old, especially when you're an independent artist, but like some songs from 2020 and 2021 that had come out, but I had new people looking at my page, and I was like, I want to share these songs and make sure that the people that just join me here know that I have music out. And on top of that, like the real true reason behind doing it was because I've been experimenting with all these styles and sounds in the studio. And I really wanted to share them out just kind of without it's saying like this is the track list of an album, but just saying like what are you liking, what are you listening to, what songs are the people that are listening to me and following me into and want
Wow,
to hear
that's
more
great.
of.
That's fantastic. I mean, being a marketing person myself, it's just a phenomenal idea. And I'm even going to tell you the one song that stood out to me, and we're going to talk about in a little bit, is I Gave You My Number. There's just something about that song. And because it just, to me, one of the things I noticed about your songs, which I love, is they tell a story. They tell the story of you, and you're not afraid to put yourself out there, which is
Thank you.
amazing. I think that's what makes you stand out. And when you listen to that song, there's such emotion in that song, and you get the feeling like that you're in a club and that you're dancing with this person and that you're giving them your number and you're trying to figure out what's going to happen next and you don't know. So it's just, and even the music
Mhm.
just itself lends to that, and it was really a cool thing.
Oh, thank you so much. I didn't know this, so this is also exciting to hear.
So
Thank
cool.
you.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that, but to start off here, so how did this all started with? Okay, America the Beautiful, right? 5 years old, was that what it was? This is how this whole thing got started.
Oh my goodness. Yes,
I'm
oh,
going way back
wow.
now.
Wow, we're doing a deep dive. I love it. Yes, yes, it really did. I mean, I think it started a little bit, but honestly, it started pretty much before I can remember it. I remember my mom when I was about like, well, I don't remember this, but my mom has told me that when I was about like
Oh
close
my
to 2 years
gosh.
old, she said like, I don't know what she's gonna be doing, but I know she's gonna be an
Wow.
artist. Like she said, like I just thought like an art, and my whole life, like I think they've been like, "Oh, well, you think
Mhm.
like an artist." Like, and I didn't really know what that meant until my later teen years where I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I get it." Like, it's because I just approach the world very, very differently. And I think very deeply about a lot of things, and I reflect on my own like behavior, and that's kind of where I get my writing from and trying to make sense of everything in this world. And but to go back to America the Beautiful, that was really my first
How
public
about it?
performance. And like I don't know, I was making up skits and dancing and singing around my house, but I don't really
Right,
remember any of
right.
that. But I guess when I had entered kindergarten, I saw that at the end of the every Friday there was what's called a town
Wow.
meeting where every single it was like an assembly, like every it was a K through 5 school, so everyone in the grade school would just come together, and there was an opportunity for the fifth graders to perform if
Mhm.
they wanted to. And so like once a week, or two of the fifth graders would sing in front of the school. And so apparently, this is again, I don't remember this, but I
Okay.
remember performing, but I don't remember
Alright.
any of the lead up. But something that I had done was walk directly up to the principal
Oh,
on
wow.
week 3 of kindergarten and say like, "Hi, my name's Allison. I want to perform in
Whoa.
front of the school."
Good
And
lord.
she was like, "Okay," and but what kind of happened was she was like, "Okay," and so then I went home, told my parents, "I'm gonna perform in front of the school, it's gonna be great." And I kept asking, and a few weeks went by,
Mhm.
and then a few months went by, and every time I saw the principal, I would say, like, "When am I performing?" And I started asking my teachers, I started asking other teachers, I started telling my friends. Really, yeah, anyway, we'll get
Wow,
there. But so apparently I like kept telling my parents, like, she won't tell me when I'm gonna perform, but I'm going to, because she said that
mhm.
I'm going to. And so then my mom apparently like at some sort of parent teacher conference situation. It's not like
Yeah,
she like
yeah,
went
yeah.
to the principal, but she like had talked to the principal, who my mom was like, "Allison tells me that she's performing in front
Mhm.
of the school." And the principal was basically like, "Yeah, like, I don't know. I don't want to hurt her. I don't want her to get
Oh,
scared. I don't want her to get
yeah.
nervous." And my mom was like, "You told her yes, though."
Yeah.
Like, so Eh, so and she was like, essentially like,
Mhm.
"I'm really worried that she's gonna get nervous. We have some of our 5th graders that get really nervous." And my mom basically was like, "She's not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
get nervous. You should just." And so anyway, I then the last town meeting of kindergarten, I was allowed to
Oh,
sing
man.
America the Beautiful in front of my school. And I remember that
Mhm.
feeling. Like, I remember singing in front of the school and just being like, "I'm gonna be chasing that for the rest of my life."
That's incredible. I
So
I know when my mom said to me, I used to come home and play songs on the piano that I heard at school, just like nursery rhymes or whatever. I would come home and just start playing them.
Oh,
So then
cool.
I guess I was a little bit older than 4, maybe like kindergarten, maybe 1st grade, and I had to conduct for the first time in front of the whole school, and I was like I was so nervous. I was like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I got
Wow.
up there, I conducted, and I'm conducting like these 8th grade students and looking like, it's like, who is this little kid up there, like with this conductor, like, conducting this thing. But it's just that emotion. That's
That's so
like you said, it's
cool.
just how you get into it, and yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is so cool that you got
Yeah,
that
yeah.
opportunity.
So, all right, so you did this American the Beautiful, then you're singing Schoolhouse Rock and went to the Hess truck commercial because someone heard you. Is this true?
Yes, this is I mean, it's a longer I will spare the
Okay.
long, long, long story, basically, as I mentioned, now you can gather that essentially, and I still can't, but my entire upbringing, I just wouldn't shut up, and more importantly, I
Yeah.
wouldn't stop
Mhm.
singing. Like, I after America the Beautiful, I would not after, but like, in class, like, I
Sure.
would sing stuff, and like my teachers would ask me to like stop singing. So I started
Wow.
humming. Like, it was just ridiculous. It was very annoying. And honestly, like, I have some friends that are from elementary school, and I just don't know
Oh,
how they put up with that. But I like to think that
yeah.
I've grown. But to getting to the holiday party situation, I was at a holiday party, and it was one of these, I think that Schoolhouse Rock was playing, and it was like, I don't remember what song,
Mhm.
but I just remember like knowing all the words because I loved Schoolhouse Rock and
Yeah.
I still do. And was singing, and I guess there was an agent
Oh,
there that heard
wow.
me and asked my parents like if I would be willing to do commercials and more importantly like sing jingles. And so I became essentially like a part-time jingle kid,
Jeez.
from ages like 9 through 14, and it was
Wow.
really cool, really. Honestly, I'm so grateful for that opportunity,
Mhm.
both because it allowed me to learn the etiquette of
Yeah.
recording studios like
Sure.
really early on. And then also because I was like, "Oh my goodness, like getting a career in
Mhm.
singing is feasible," essentially from like a
Yeah.
really young age. And so
Yeah. And
that was
now
really
how
cool.
did that work? Did they record all the kids together? Did you do that separately, or how did that go?
It really depended on
Okay.
the commercial. I know, I did a lot of radio tags for, stations like CBS FM and,
Wow.
Z100 and a couple of, like, New York-based I grew up in New York, if I didn't say that previously. So, I think for the radio tags, they were all very
Mm.
solo. They were I did and there were also tons of things that never made the air that I was recording and
Yeah.
demoing and situations like that, obviously. one of the coolest ones that I did, which I loved the Hess truck one. I sang that in
Oh,
English and
wow.
Spanish, and that was like, I think that was 3 or 4 kids, and then we just
Yeah.
doubled, tripled, added harmonies, doubled and tripled the harmonies, and made it like, feel like a
Oh.
chorus. And then but my favorite one was, there was a GE commercial in, I think,
Oh,
2012 that aired during the Olympics, and I had like a
wow,
solo in
okay.
it. So that was really, really, I remember just like freaking out
Sure.
at the TV when I
Yeah.
saw
Oh
that.
my god, what an amazing story, especially at so young. Now how old were you at that point?
Um, During the entire, I don't remember that
Mm,
one specifically. I was probably
okay.
like 13, but I think the entire I did it like, I think mostly from ages 9 or 10 to
Wow.
14,
Man,
15.
talk about 24 years down, man. You made it live every one of them working. Unbelievable.
I mean,
Yeah, you
every
got it
single.
down. Oh my gosh. So we were talking about, your dad and what it was like working in the studio with him and how supportive your parents have been. So tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really lucky to have my parents just behind me. And I think that's something that's so cool about my dad is that he really encourages me to be my own artist, and to he's not like, he's such a limitless knowledge source, if that
Okay.
makes sense. Like, he
Yep.
knows so much. He's just incredible and so supportive and so genuine. But he
Mhm.
also like, he I don't know how to explain it. It's like he tells me like it is too. Like, I've
Okay.
showed him some songs at the beginning, and he's said like, "Hey, like, work on the lyrics. Like, why don't you
Mhm.
know what I mean?" So I think it's something where, like, at first I was like, "What do you mean? I'm the greatest." Like, and then now I'm like, "No, like, his opinion really matters to me because he really knows what he's talking about."
Yeah.
But one of my first situations, I guess I was watching a artist at a festival with my dad, and this was before I knew kind of the trajectory of an independent artist. And
Mhm.
so I was just watching this artist, and I was kind of like, I don't know who they are. Like, how did they get to play this festival? And he was like, oh, well, they're probably just on like, a management or a label or something. And then I was like, "Oh, well, I didn't know that was like an option. If that's an option, I'll do that. Like, I would love to
Sure.
do that." And he looked at me and he was like, "Then you better start writing music."
Yep.
And so I had been writing music like my whole life, but not like, disciplined. And
Okay.
so he then basically said to me like, let's put together demos when you have 100 songs, and then
Okay.
we'll go through the songs and we'll choose it. And so it's
Wow.
funny because it's like he's my biggest supporter, but he's also like part of the reason that I work so hard now, is because
Mhm.
it's like, oh, well, like, I recognize that if you go into the studio and write 5 songs, like, maybe you get one good one. And
Yep.
like, or not even a good one, because good is subjective in a relative
Mhm.
term, but like, you get one that you're really proud of and you want to release.
Sure.
So he's just been wonderful, and I'm really lucky.
Yeah, no, my family's the same way. Like my mom, she'll tell me flat out, "Yeah, that's not your best work." I'm like, "Come on, mom, like, help me out here." She's like, "Nah, you've written better." I'm like, "Okay." So yeah, I
Yeah.
get that. My family, obviously, my sister and I are the complete opposite. So I play a lot by ear. My sister, like, I can hear a song on the radio and go to the piano and just play it. Um,
Wow.
my
That's really
sister,
cool.
yeah, it's a gift and a curse, but yeah, it's a lot of fun, and my sister asks me for help sometimes. I ask her for help because when I'm sight reading, I can't sight read music. She can sight read music perfectly the first time
Mm.
and then go through it. So we're complete opposites, and I'm like, how did this happen? Like I have no idea, but and even my sister will say to me, "Yeah, yeah, I like this song better." Like one of their favorite songs, and I'll tell you about a little later on is Dana, and it's
Mhm.
kind of similar to I gave you my number in a way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, so speaking of instruments, so you play piano and guitar, right? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay, so I play piano and drums. Good. So I guess how did you determine? Do you generally write more on guitar, more on piano, or kind of what's your main instrument?
Yeah, honestly, it's really been fluctuating lately. I think,
Okay.
um I started writing on guitar, definitely. I
Mhm.
started writing, but I think it was that I picked up piano first. I started playing piano when I was like 5.
Okay.
But then
Wow.
I started playing guitar when I was like 14. So I think
Mhm.
I was like writing songs at 5, but I wasn't writing music at 5, whereas at 14 I really started using guitar as an outlet to, feel my emotions as most writers start. Um and
Mhm.
so that was guitar. I probably now write, I'll say like 60% guitar, 30% or 40% piano, but then I've also
Mhm.
been writing recently to track.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've been spending the last like year and a half primarily writing to tracks mainly.
Okay. It's funny because when I started playing piano when I was 5 years old, one of the first songs I wrote, and I still remember it was called "Cheerios Falling" because I kept dropping my cereal when I was a
That's
kid.
awesome.
So I wrote this song called "Cheerios Falling." My family thought I was hysterical, and they actually have the sheet music that I still did. I'd, like, put little notes, little Cheerios on it, and it's hysterical. So, I don't know, do you remember the first song you wrote?
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
do. The first song that I wrote was called I Love You So Much. I
Oh,
wrote it about
wow.
my family, and I
Oh,
was
that's
about four
amazing.
and a half.
Okay.
And I recorded it in my dad's studio, so I still have it kind of burned to a disc somewhere. And it was awesome.
Wow, that's amazing. I always have respect for musicians that play their own instruments. I've been fortunate that, I've been in a lot of bands. I've been in bands that have broken up, but one of the things I did was I learned from every band and every person that I played with.
Mhm.
And one of the guys that I worked with Prince. I played with him once,
Wow.
and he had said to me, he's like, I have a story about Prince. He's like, when Prince was first starting out, he said he could not get a record contract. The guys would say, "Nah, you can't play, you can't play." And he's like, "Well, why don't you just let me do a couple things?" So finally, after like 4 or 5, agencies and recording studios wouldn't get him, he was like, one guy said, "I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. If you can come in here and play every instrument yourself, let you record in here and actually release the CD." That's what he did. He played every single instrument: piano, bass, drums, guitar,
Wow.
and that's how he got his break. The guy's like, "All right, you beat me, man. You won." Like, that was his claim
Wow.
to fame, and I didn't know that, and this guy just happened to play bass with him, and, just unbelievable story. So, yeah, you never know where it takes you. Alright, so my next question is, and I can take a guess. I know what my favorite song is of yours, but what is your favorite song that you've written?
Oh boy. This is like a really, really hard question. Well, I almost want to hear what you were gonna guess, but I think my favorite, the song that I keep coming back to is a song called Colorado
Oh, okay.
that is on Spotify. I released it about it's on my Fly Home EP, so it came out in 2018. And it's a song that, like, I released the EP. I didn't really have any sort of following at that point, and it was the song that kind of grew from that EP. So it was also just a
Mhm.
song that I wrote to help myself. And it was based on a situation that a friend was going through, but I really applied it to myself, and I still kind of do,
Oh.
and look to that song when I'm needing, some reassurance. So I'm curious to hear what you thought I was going to say.
I thought you were gonna say "We Can Still Sing," and
That's that's another good second
s
choice.
and the reason why I think I was gonna say that and I was gonna talk about it and ask about it next is because you said that was when you went to Spain, right? You found out they were singing the lyrics to that song that I read? Some
So
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
So my friend Noah Chichester lives in Spain, and so I
Wow.
was going to go to visit him in April of 2020. And so I
Mhm.
think during that time period, there were so many things that were supposed to happen that didn't. But something that
Mhm.
brought me hope throughout the pandemic was the fact that, or like throughout the first week or so, were the people that were singing from their balconies around Europe. And so Noah, my friend, actually started putting on balcony concerts
That's
and
awesome.
singing out. He's operatically trained, so he started singing out of
Oh,
his
wow.
window in Spain, and which was just so incredible to me. And
That's
so
so
then
cool.
I like wrote this song about it. And then it was actually my dad that was like, you should release this for sure. And I was like, no,
Mhm.
like this song's just for me, like to get me through this time. Like, I don't think I'm gonna release it. And he was like, "No, like, you should release it." And then we're going back and forth on it. And then I, was like, "Oh my goodness, like, my friend Noah is posting videos of him singing it outside of his window in Spain." And I was quarantining with my parents. I was like, "How cool is this?" And my
Mhm.
dad was like, "We're recording the song. Let's put Noah's voice in it."
That's
And it just, like,
awesome.
changed everything. And it's really
Yeah.
kinda crazy how people reacted to that song and how I feel it. I think that, like, it's definitely, like, a time capsule for that part of my life, you know?
Yeah. No, no question, and, I during the pandemic, I wrote a song, "Everything's gonna be okay," and just like everybody,
Ah,
take a deep breath, relax, and you can see it, on our YouTube channel too, and it's a song that I just kind of was like, "Okay, we've had a heck of a year, it's all gonna be alright, let's just go calm down, take a breath, and we're
oh,
gonna start fresh
absolutely.
and gonna come back better than ever," and that's kind of the and those type of songs are inspirational, but I can't imagine just hearing people singing the lyrics to your song. I know when one of my songs were picked up by a Philadelphia recording studio, I got, like, emotional, like, I was like, "Oh my god, somebody actually wants to sing and record my songs." I'm like, I just couldn't fathom that,
Isn't it, like,
you
the
know?
craziest feeling? And I really wanna listen to Everything Will Be Okay. Like, it's such a, I mean, I
Mhm.
already know from the title that it's, like, gonna be such a powerful song.
It's
But it really, like, I think the music born from the pandemic is some of the most in like, it's, like, emotional, but carefree.
Yeah.
And I think that hearing people sing back your songs is, like, the craziest feeling ever.
It is. It's just yeah, even, like, if I do, like, little cafe concerts or whatever and people who know my songs, it just yeah, it's just crazy that, I'll never get over that, and that's just it is. It's such a powerful feeling, and thank God for fans like that keep us going.
Oh,
It's
100
incredible.
100%, especially nowadays when it's, like, hard to see people live. And even people are doing it and people are managing, but it's definitely, like, fans like that that keep you going.
Yeah. Alright, cool. So let's go to my favorite one. I gave you my number, and I will talk
Yes.
about my story of Dana after that, but I gave you my number. True story, I assume, right?
We'll have to find out. We'll have to see. It's definitely an open-ended song. I based it off of true
Oh,
experiences, but it's one
okay.
that I kind of drew from different parts of my life, both
Oh,
past, present,
okay.
and future. So, but it's one that I've really, really, really loved for a while. I wrote it
Mhm.
actually back in 2019.
Okay.
And I was doing So Far Sounds shows a lot. If you know the organization, they're a great organization that puts on, like, secret shows.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so I basically turned that song into a sing along. And I immediately was like, "Oh, this is cool. This is a good song. I like it." Like, because I was
Yeah.
using those spaces to, like, essentially test out the new songs before the
Mhm.
10-day challenge. So yeah.
Okay. That's a heck of a story. Oh, alright, so Dana is a fun this is a true story. So there was, this woman that I work with, her name was Dana, and just very cute, and, every day I go to work and, see her and everything like that, and I knew she had a boyfriend, and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I don't if they have a boyfriend, I have to let him go. I don't mess with that." That's like, I don't so she had no idea that I was kind of, well, that I liked her and was interested in maybe
Oh,
taking her out, that type of thing. So I was doing this concert down South Street in Philadelphia, and I guess I told some people at work or whatever that I was doing this concert, and some of them had showed up. Well, here me, I forgot that I put Dana on the set. Now, Dana was not there, and of course, we start playing Dana, and I see my friends in the stands, like, laughing. I'm like, "Oh god, I'm not gonna hear the end of this." So afterwards, they come up to me, they're like, "Dana, huh?" I'm like, "Not a word." I'm like, "Don't you say a word." So and, she still has no idea to this day this song's about her, and it's just a
wow.
fun song, it's a poppy type of song. Every time someone hears it, they just love that song, there's just something about it, and I have 2 versions, one that I did with Goodnight Gracie, which is actually not my favorite one, and then one that I did solo, which is really nice,
Is it
so
out? Is the solo one out?
I did not re actually, you know what? It is out. It's not on Spotify yet, but I can definitely share the recording with you. So, yeah,
I would love
the
to
Goodnight
hear
Gracie
it.
version is definitely online, Spotify and stuff like that, but, yeah, I like the definitely my solo version better, just because like, Goodnight Gracie was a little more they're kind of a little more heavier, a little more, classic rock, where
Okay.
this was a little more, like, poppy, like, Beatles type, song, so it's just like
Oh,
a different
cool.
style.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm really
so
excited to
just a
hear
different
it.
style. Yeah. So yeah, so you never know where that emotion comes from, but I got a great song out of it, and I guess that when you have those experiences, that's when you get these great songs. So I
Oh,
guess I gave you my number
100%.
was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy you like that one. It's a really fun song, and it's one that I was, like, holding on to because I wanted to get the production right, you know? Like, I was like,
Yeah.
"I want this song to, like, make people wanna dance." So
Yeah.
it's I'm really excited to release it in a few months. Probably
Yeah.
less than a few months now, so
I was like dance on top of my piano. I was ready to go with that one.
yeah.
Um, so one of your influences is Taylor Swift. So tell me, what is your perfect love story?
Oh my goodness. What is
I love that question.
my perfect love story?
You
That
know,
is I think, I'm such a how do I explain this? I feel like I'm not I look at love as partnership, and I look
yeah.
at love as like having somebody that's there for you, that's supportive of you. And I'm lucky to have somebody that's like really really supportive of my music career and really supportive of me, and that I can support equally. And I think that that's kind of what I see as my perfect love story. That and like I don't know. I guess it's the little things with me. Like it's staying in and
Mhm.
watching a movie and just spending quality time together. And
Yeah.
so I think that like and definitely finding someone that like likes the same kind of things as you. So that's kind of
Mhm.
my perfect love story.
So, what are your next steps? Like, where do you want to achieve now? Like, where do you want to go?
Yeah, I am really, really excited. I'm releasing a single next month, so I'm very, very, very
Mhm.
excited about that. I haven't announced it yet, but I'm like in the process. It's like I'm finishing it up. I just did the album art. So excited. And then I'm releasing the EP. So I have a new EP coming
Oh,
out this
wow.
end of the spring. And I'm
Mhm.
really, really, really excited about it. It's kind of a collection of songs that were kind of born in quarantine, but also now like we can still sing was the quarantine song. So this isn't about the pandemic, but it's kind of about how the situations that have happened over the last 2 years have like shaped me. And
Okay.
so everything's very current. It's very much an experiment lyrically as well as sonically. There are a lot of like common threads between the songs, but definitely it's like I pushed myself really hard, harder than I ever have before, to just like tell the truth and like
Yeah.
get pieces of myself into the world. So yeah, and I'm hoping to tour more this year. I'm playing some festivals that are going to be announced soon. So just
That's
a lot
great.
on the horizon that I'm really excited about.
Yeah. Cool. And I guess going back and forth between New York and Nashville, or no? Trying to stay more in
No,
Nashville? Or?
I live in Nashville. I've lived here for like 2 years. So,
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
really happy to be. I obviously like I visit home a few times a year, but
Right.
I really 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 love the music community down here, and
Mhm.
I just like just the people and the opportunities and the fact that like I'm able to just get into the studio on a random Sunday or something like that is really really wonderful. So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't see myself going anywhere anytime soon.
So, I do this with all my guests, and I usually call it this or that, but I'm actually gonna call it this time, "We can still choose." So, you have to basically pick one or the other, okay? And you can't be wishy-washy and say, "Well, I don't know." You have to pick one or the other, and usually that's what I get. People tend to be wishy-washy because 'cause they're tough, but,
Okay.
so anyway, here we go. Piano or guitar?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I
I
told
my
you.
The first thing that I thought was piano.
Okay, cool. Why? Did you just is there a reason or
Because I think I write my best songs on piano, and I think I vent to the piano more. if that makes
Okay.
sense. Like I treat the piano as more of like a place of necessity. Like if I'm
All
really
right.
feeling an emotion, I usually go to the piano versus guitar is more of like I use this to play my gigs. I use this to where and I feel like I obviously love my guitar and I treat it like my child, but I feel like my first instinct was definitely to say the piano.
Okay. Cool. Taylor Swift or Katy Perry?
Taylor Swift.
Okay. All right.
I just adore her songwriting.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Love Story or Shake It Off?
I think Love Story.
Okay. All right. Very cool. This is my favorite one. Hess truck or beer truck?
Oh, well, I owe a lot to the Hess truck, so I will say Hess truck. That's
Okay.
awesome.
We Can Still Sing or Coffee Cup?
Oh, now you're making me choose children. Um, I think I in this moment, I'm gonna say we can still sing while we're in the
Okay.
pandemic.
All right. We Can Still Sing. All right. Do you prefer band or solo?
I think I've had some of my favorite shows solo. And
Okay.
I think I love so I'll choose solo, but I love playing with a band and I have some full band shows coming up this year. So I think I'm really excited to start exploring that more, but I think all the foundation of my writing is like can this be played solo strip with a guitar? So like without
Gotcha.
all the bells and whistles. And so I think
Yeah.
that's when it comes down to in the end.
All right. Cool. Well, we got two more. Live or recording? Playing live or
Oh,
recording, that's a tough
no.
one. Yeah.
First instinct was recording. I've
Okay.
fallen in love in the recording studio with the recording studio in the even more so than I have. And again, I just feel like it's really more foundational. Like I grew up, I love live shows. I live for live shows, but I think that I'm
Right.
really able to do some really cool experimental sounds in the studio more so.
Okay. Cool. Now, this is gonna be the toughest one for you to choose. Noah Kahan or Sal Gracie?
Sal Gracie, of course.
That's funny. I guess in the last show, I gave her a choice. Who was it? Leonardo DiCaprio or me. So
That's so that's so funny.
yeah, so I like having a little bit of fun at the end there, but yeah, no,
That's
definitely,
awesome.
because I know you like Noah a lot, so and he's one
Yeah,
of your
yeah,
influences as well. So now you
totally.
haven't met him yet, or have you?
No, I have not. I just am a
Okay,
huge again, I'm really drawn to songwriters. I love people
okay,
that are like kind of which is kind of funny that I didn't answer the question about I give you my number, but it definitely I give you my number is based on a true story, obviously, but I just like to, poke fun. But
yeah,
I definitely love artists that like commit to sharing the all the parts of themselves. And I think
mhm,
Noah writes really beautifully about topics like anxiety and depression that wasn't
okay,
always like okay to sing about and
yeah.
I he does it so beautifully that I've always been like really really inspired by his writing.
Alright, so this is the last thing. This is a kind of part of the show where you kind of flip the tables on me. You get to ask me questions now. You can ask me anything you want. You get back at me or whatever. And have some fun with me now. So, anything you wanna know, you can ask me here.
Awesome. Well, I
Yeah.
guess so we talked a little bit about Dana, but other
Uh-huh.
than I guess we've talked a lot about your like discography, but I guess what is your favorite song that you've written?
I think a song called "It's You," and the reason why I like it was because it was, again, like everything else about it, a real life experience with a woman, and a lot of my songs, I try to get away from that, but they all seem to come back to that somehow. But that one just kind of wasn't the typical like, "Yeah, she loved me, she didn't love me, she broke me up, goodbye." Like, that's the typical, like, song that most musicians write. This was different than that. It was just a song about an overall emotion on a Sunday morning and waking up and just thinking about the person and the good time you had with them the night before and focusing more just on the really good things. And there's just this really catchy piano at the beginning of it that when people hear it, they're just like, "Oh my god, I love that."
Oh,
And
yay.
so, yeah, if you get a chance, so "It's You" is definitely probably one of them besides Dana.
I'm gonna check it
for
out.
sure. Yeah, definitely one that's up there, and one that I enjoyed writing. It came together. It was one of those ones that probably came together the quickest too.
Wow.
And it just, I heard it. I kind of had the melody in my head. I remember waking up at like 2 or 3 in the morning and going down and writing it, and then so I wouldn't like lose it, and then going right to the piano the next day and kind of
That's
finishing it and getting
really
some
cool.
ideas down. So
That's
yeah,
really, really, really cool story. I'm really excited to listen.
yeah, when they tend to come to me for some reason, is like when I'm either sleeping or I'm laying down or something ideal hit me and then I'll boom.
That's so
So it just works that way.
awesome.
So, yeah. So any other questions or
Oh, I'll say last question
okay.
is what well, I wonder if I should do a silly one or not.
You can,
I don't
sure.
know. Well,
Absolutely.
I have so much I wanna know. I feel like what is, I guess what was the moment that you went from, I like music and I've always liked it and I'm good at it or whatever and I practice a lot to like this is my life. I love music so much. I want it to be my career.
Wow. Okay, that's a crazy question. I like it though. It's a tough one. I think it's always been there, like you, since I've been a kid. I've always loved getting up in front of people and performing. I started out even when I was in grade school. I had my own DJ company called Young Sounds,
That's
and there
so
was like
cool.
this 8-year-old kid up there DJing, and I just always had a thing with music. My father owned a roller skating rink, and I would go up because the DJ was always late. I would wind up starting the music for the session. So, and they're telling like, here's a little 8-year-old kid telling people to clear the floor and, turn on the lights, and it was hysterical. So I think it's always been there. I've just always tried to keep humility about it and just remember where I've came from, no matter what happens, whether I make it, don't make it, whatever it is. I just do it for the love of music and just to meet people like you and other musicians that can be so inspiring. I went to Westminster Choir College and studied a couple summers, and I just remember going up there and I'm playing with all these other musicians, and I was just like, I am like the worst one here. They are like so much better than I am. And I remember I was like crushed. I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And it was right after that when I went home and I wrote this new song and people just fell in love with it. And
Mm,
so it kind of turned the tables like, you know what, you can do this. You just have to do it in a different way. And you're not going to be that classical pianist. That's not what you are. So I think some of it is just discovering who you are. And,
mhm.
and I think you've done such a great job of that in your music and with your voice. And that's really the key. And that's when I knew that, yeah, this is where I want to be because I discovered myself. I discovered where my kind of sweet, spot is,
That's
if
really
that makes
cool, and I
sense.
really
Yeah.
appreciate that. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's I think, I heard advice a couple probably about a decade ago that was just kind of like, if you like, you should always wanna be in the room with people better than you, because it
Yep.
makes you better, and I think it's, like, a perfect example of, like, being inspired by other people to write your best songs
Mhm.
versus, like, shying away from it, and I think that's why you're gonna find, just, like, why you found the success you have and why you're gonna keep moving forward on this trajectory. I think it's really, really
Mhm.
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Go
cut you
ahead.
off.
No, please go
But my
ahead.
last question is, what is your
Uh-huh.
favorite flavor ice cream?
I am gonna go with cookies and cream.
Oh, amazing choice.
Yeah. How about yours?
Um, I you know, I love mint chocolate chip. I
That is my
really
second
do.
choice.
I
I almost
really
said
do.
that.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
I
I
love it.
love
It's
mint chocolate
just
chip
it's
too.
an addiction, honestly, so
It it is, and there's in Philadelphia especially, they have so many places here where they make custom ice cream. It's just amazing.
I have to visit someday. I would love
Yeah,
to.
definitely. And from I don't know, I guess from Nashville, it's probably only like a 2 or 3 hour flight. It's not too bad. So
Yeah, yeah, it's probably not. It's
mhm,
probably fine. And I meant I've had shows booked there before and I've wanted
mhm.
to come back and play a redemption show. So
Yeah,
so I will
absolutely.
have to.
Well, we would love to see you here, that's for sure. So, but well, I have just like really enjoyed this, and hopefully, we can do this again sometime. This has been great, and once your single's released, then I can say I knew we're back when, and before she got really famous, and, so Allison, thank you so much, and, we'll do this again real soon.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast and I really appreciate it. So I will see you again very soon.
Alright, sounds good.